I'm sorry I can't be with you today. I can't travel much anymore. I had a stroke 10 years ago, which didn't affect my brain, I don't think, but did affect my mobility quite a lot. So anyway, um, I got introduced to the ARPANET in April of '73 at SRI, Stanford Research Institute, where I got a job as the manager of the Artificial Intelligence Computer Center. And and the very first day on the job, they showed me this thing called the ARPANET. And I looked at that and went, wow, this is cool. I mean, I'd come from a missile defense background and doing that kind of work and buried in some secret place. And then came out and into the real world. And so I played around with this ARPANET stuff for a while. And then about a year or two later, a guy named Bill Plummer at BBN said to me, he was a system programmer there, and he said, hey, I'm testing this new thing called TCP, and I want you to, we're doing it in the building here at BBN, but we need a cross-country testing site, and will you help me? And I said, sure. So I started doing that in my spare time, and um, and I did that for about a year with him in a language called BCPL, which was the precursor of C, and um, and that was a lot of fun. And then I did debugging with him. I had installed the code on my computer, and a PDP-10, a 10x machine, which was the machine of choice for most big sites in those days. And I met Vint Cerf in those days too. He was a young professor at Stanford. I say young because he's 2 years younger than I am, so he'll always be young. And he was a neat guy. And and then so I did that, and that was my early years as, I guess, call it a developer, a debugger. And I mean, we had no idea what we were doing in those days with it. I mean, we knew what we were trying to do, but it was a lot of fun. And then the next phase of my involvement with the internet, because in 1978, the protocol was essentially fixed, and and sites on the ARPANET were starting to convert over to the internet protocols and running them side by side because we had to. And then I moved on to Los Angeles to the Information Sciences Institute as their manager of their computing facilities. And that was the biggest node on the ARPANET in those days. It had about 6 machines online and about 3,000 people using them, and around the world, actually, mostly around the country, but around the world. And I was working for Bob Kahn and Vint Cerf at ARPA, really, and even though I'm theoretically an employee of USC. And and they told me, hey, we're going to convert everything over to internet, and I want you to manage that process for machines all over the internet. And so I did that for a while, for a couple of years. And then we had a flag day, the last flag day in history. That is the day when they shut the ARPANET down and turned everybody onto the internet, January 1st, 1983. That was hilarious. And then, so I did that. And then about a year later, I left that job because things were happening, and I wanted to get involved in a startup of some sort. And so I moved back to Silicon Valley with no job, just looking for because friends of mine had started Cisco and they'd started Sun Microsystems, and I'm going, wait a minute, I can do this too. And I tried that and failed 2 or 3 times actually. And then I realized in about late '85, early '86 that people all over the world were trying to build internet stuff, and they were doing a mediocre job. So I became an educator, I call myself now, of internet technology. And I started a company called Advanced Computing Environments. I thought that's a clever name. And to teach, engineers how the internet worked, because I knew, and I knew all the people that built it. They were all friends of mine. John Postel and Danny Cohen and Dave Clark and Dave Mills and Vint Cerf, and so I started this thing, and eventually it became called Interop, the TCP/IP Interoperability Conference and Exhibition, and that grew like topsy for 3 or 4 years. Just grew from 300 people to 50,000 people in 4 years. I think you got something when the growth is that fast, eh? And then I sold that company because I didn't really want to run a giant trade show company. And then I started looking around for things to do in the early 90s. And I realized, the internet's not going to take off unless there's a way to send money around. And another pal guy found me, and we started a company which we called Cybercash, to put credit cards and move money on the internet. And we built that company with Steve Crocker. He was our CTO, and so we built that company and launched it. And after a couple of years, we went bankrupt because we didn't have enough customers. We had great technology and mediocre marketing. And another company came along with, I'll just be blunt, great marketing and mediocre technology. And guess who won? And that company is called PayPal. And they eventually bought all our technology out of bankruptcy. And so it's a success, a great success. Bravo for them. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I hope you guys have a great time in Costa Rica. I'd love to be there. My children, all of my adult children have been there, but I haven't. And I would love to be there, but I can't go. So enjoy your times. Bye-bye.